Tonight, stopping a killer. Researchers say this screening test could keep thousands of people from dying of lung cancer. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, a scare in the air.
Have a technical issue with our number 2 engine.
An engine blows out on a super jumbo jet carrying more than 400 people. The battle against bed bugs, sniffing, spraying, and now suing. And priming the economic pump, the deal this millionaire is making with businesses to get them hiring again.
From CBS News World Headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. One day we hope to begin this broadcast with a cure for cancer. But in the meantime, we begin with a way to keep it from killing by catching it early. No cancer kills more Americans than lung cancer. Estimates are more than 220,000 will be diagnosed this year. 157,000 will die. But tonight, a major government study shows a high-tech way of screening for lung cancer can drastically reduce the death toll. Here's Dr. John LaPook.
Watch this, see?
After 50 years of smoking, 67-year-old Stephanie Torrigelli knew she was at high risk for lung cancer. 2 years ago, she enrolled in a study, and sure enough, a CT scan picked up an early tumor before she had any symptoms.
I said, God gave me a second chance in life. And that's how I look at it.
Now, for the first time, that screening test has been proven to save lives in heavy smokers like her. The study looked at more than 53,000 men and women who smoked the equivalent of a pack a day for about 30 years. These older smokers, ages 55 to 74, were screened with either chest X-ray or a more sensitive CT scan that gives a three-dimensional view. After 5 years, those who got the scans had 20% fewer deaths from lung cancer.
The 20% reduced mortality indicates that this approach is able to save lives.
The effectiveness of CT scanning for lung cancer has been debated for years. A key concern? The test picks up lung abnormalities like scars from past infections that are not cancer. These are common in heavy smokers and can result in costly, anxiety-producing tests. Another concern? Radiation. A CT scan, even low dose, delivers about 15 times more radiation than a chest X-ray. But the new study suggests the benefit of finding lung cancers early trumps the risks.
This is one of the most important cancer findings in the last 10 years. It proves that you can save patients' lives by detecting cancer early.
4 years ago, Barton Lazarus had a CT scan that caught an early lung cancer, missed by chest X-ray. Doctors removed that tumor, and today he's cancer-free. Since Torrigelli's lung surgery 2 years ago, she's also cancer-free and vigilant about screening.
I can walk, I do everything that I did before. I'm feeling good. Cheers. I feel perfect.
A good screening test is so important because right now 85% of patients diagnosed with lung cancer die because it's not caught soon enough. Katie?
And I understand, John, there's something like 80 million current or ex-smokers in the United States. So should everyone go out and get screened, or all of those people at least?
I don't think everybody, but certainly in light of this study, I think the heavy smokers, it's very reasonable for them to talk to their doctors about getting screened. But remember, as we said, there are some drawbacks. For every 300 people who were screened, 1 life was saved, but 70 people were told that they had an abnormality that turned out to be totally benign.
And tell me how much this test costs, at least right now.
Right now, about $300 to $400, not covered by Medicare or most insurance companies. That could change when the government takes a closer look in the wake of this study. But remember, it's terrific to pick up a lung cancer early, but if you want to prevent it from developing in the first place, stop smoking, or better yet, never start smoking in the first place.
All right. Dr. John LaPook. John, thank you. Now to the latest on the cargo plane terror plot. One focus of the investigation is timing. When and where were those ink cartridge bombs designed to go off? Today, Chief Investigative Correspondent Armin Katayan reports we learned just how close one of them may have come to exploding.
The scene, England's East Midlands Airport, 3:30 a.m. on October 29th, and the clock was ticking. For several hours, local police, tipped to a terror plot, had been inspecting cargo from UPS Flight 232 bound for the U.S., but came up empty. Then, a little before 2 p.m., after another tip, investigators searched the packages again, finally discovering a powerful bomb hidden in this computer printer cartridge. Today, the French Interior Minister said the bomb was defused just 17 minutes before it was due to go off, something the White House today said it could not confirm.
Al-Qaeda gave us another warning. They are obsessed with attacking us through the aviation sector.
Had things gone according to plan, the UPS package could have either been on the ground in Philadelphia or on a plane to Chicago when the cartridge, packed with a pound of the explosive PETN, was set to explode. A law enforcement source tells CBS News one idea being examined: the ignition source of the bomb may well have been a cell phone battery coupled with the charge from the flash of its built-in camera.
The cost would have been incalculable. We would be talking about a damage of tens or hundreds of billions of dollars to the U.S. and global economy.
CBS News has learned the intelligence community believes a half dozen individuals or more representing core al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula may be responsible for initiating and orchestrating the attacks. Despite the failed bombing attempts, an intelligence source told us al-Qaeda sees the attacks as a success because of the chaos and fear they've created, Katie.
All right. Armin Katayan, Armin, as always, thank you. Hundreds of passengers aboard a Qantas Airlines super jumbo jet got the scare of their lives today. An engine blew out and sharp chunks of metal tore a hole in the wing of the Airbus A380. It's the newest and biggest passenger jet in the world, big enough to carry the entire House of Representatives and most of the Senate. There are 37 in service and hundreds more on the way. The Qantas plane landed safely, but Celia Hatton reports some experts believe it could have been much worse.
His engine number 2 has had a failure.
Just minutes after takeoff, this is what Qantas passengers saw. A hole in the plane's wing, metal flapping in the wind.
So there was a bang, and then another bang, and then that was it. What kind of bang? Well, you know, a bang. Like a bang.
The super jumbo jet was en route from Singapore to Sydney with 459 passengers and crew when an engine appeared to explode.
I've had 35 years of flying experience, and this is the first time we've had an engine fail like this. You are safe, the aircraft is safe.
The extent of the damage became clear on landing.
Only when we stepped off the aircraft, we looked under the aircraft, you could see the back end of the engine.
Debris from the engine had acted like shrapnel, puncturing the wing.
The parts inside a jet engine are spinning at enormous speeds. You do not want those pieces exiting the engine cowling and entering the aircraft.
It's called uncontained engine failure, and the most well-known example took place in the United States, the 1989 Sioux City crash. Qantas Flight 32 was able to land safely, but once on the ground, one of the 3 remaining working engines refused to shut down, indicating there could have been much bigger problems. Qantas immediately grounded all 6 of its double-decker A380 planes to inspect their Rolls-Royce engines.
And they'll see whether any of these initial parts of the engine that let go show any manufacturing defects. This is going to be a real detective job.
Last January, the European Aviation Safety Agency issued a directive on this engine, calling for stepped-up inspections and warning that premature wear on certain parts could result in an in-flight shutdown of the engine and even a fire. Now the pressure is on to figure out just what happened to Flight 32. Celia Hatton, CBS News, Beijing.
President Obama will board Air Force One tomorrow for his longest foreign trip since he took office, a 10-day visit to Asia with stops in India, Indonesia, South Korea, and Japan. The president says one of his aims will be to get those countries to open their markets to more American products. Now, when he comes home, the president will turn his attention to domestic political issues. Nancy Cordes is our congressional correspondent. I understand, Nancy, the president is offering the legislative branch an olive branch.
That's right, Katie. It's been 2 days now since his self-described shellacking, and the president is still contrite. Today, he invited Democratic and Republican leaders to the White House for a meeting later this month and said he hopes they'll stay for dinner.
I want us to talk substantively about how we can move the American people's agenda forward. It's not just going to be a photo op.
But Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell was less conciliatory.
If the administration wants cooperation, it will have to begin to move in our direction.
In a speech today, McConnell said his top priority is to repeal the president's signature achievement, the health care reform bill.
We can and should propose and vote on straight repeal repeatedly. But we can't expect the president to sign it. So we'll also have to work in the House on denying funds for implementation.
That strategy was embraced by Eric Cantor of Virginia, who is expected to be second in command of the new House majority. In a 22-page document outlining his agenda, Cantor also calls for more investigations into the administration, with, quote, one major oversight hearing each week. That worries Democrats, who remember what happened the last time Republicans controlled the House during a Democratic presidency.
The president also denied having sexual relations.
A barrage of damaging probes, one of which ended in impeachment hearings. Congressman Darrell Issa of California will chair the powerful House Oversight Committee.
Democrats have said that you're going to start a witch hunt against the president if Republicans take control.
Certainly, there are a lot of things that every administration would like to not have looked at. In our case, what we have to look at is the growth of government and the waste in government, and that's what we're going to do.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is talking to Democrats to try to figure out her next move, but already one Democrat has said she should step down from leadership, and another has said he might run against her. Katie?
Nancy Cordes on Capitol Hill tonight. Nancy, thank you. From CBSMoneyWatch.com, Wall Street is giving a thumbs up to the Fed's plan to pump more money into the economy. That and an upbeat report on retail sales sent stock prices soaring today. The Dow gained 219 points to close at its highest level in more than 2 years. Now to one of the biggest marijuana busts this country has ever seen, more than 20 tons worth about $20 million. Federal authorities said today it was smuggled through this tunnel, which links a warehouse in San Diego to one in Tijuana, Mexico. It's 600 yards long with rails, lighting, and ventilation. Federal agents discovered it when they busted a truck driver after he picked up a load of marijuana at that San Diego warehouse. In Haiti, it's been one tragedy after another, and now this. Tropical storm Tomas is expected to lash the western part of Haiti tomorrow with rain, heavy flooding, and winds of 45 miles an hour. The government has ordered tens of thousands of earthquake survivors to evacuate tent cities near the coast. Haiti is also fighting a cholera outbreak. It has killed more than 400 people and put nearly 7,000 in the hospital. And coming up next here on the CBS Evening News, biting back, guests sue a posh hotel over a case of bed bugs. If it seems like bed bugs are almost everywhere these days, they are. They're showing up in all 50 states, and since 2006, the cost of fighting them has more than doubled, topping $250 million. Even major businesses are getting bitten, from Nike Town to Victoria's Secret, and today, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And national correspondent Jim Axelrod reports customers are getting fed up.
I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe this. I absolutely can't believe it.
Suzanne Ignari's bedbug nightmare started after her family stayed at New York's world-famous Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Her daughter slept on a cot, and Ignari says woke up covered in bites.
The following day, I called up the pediatrician. He said, these are bedbug bites.
Like that, he knew?
He knew immediately.
The Ignaris believe the bedbugs traveled home with them because their house became infested and they had to throw away furniture, clothing, and toys. But the Ignaris weren't embarrassed about having bedbugs. They were furious.
Very angry that I thought that I was going to a safe place and I ended up in this situation.
The Ignaris are suing the hotel for $13,000 of property damage, plus pain and suffering.
The bedbugs were in a cot. As far as I know, when my client went out, that cot went out the door too.
The Waldorf Astoria tells CBS News that after the Ignari family complained, they called in an exterminator who inspected the room and found no evidence of bedbugs. Today, another family sued the Waldorf, also blaming their bedbugs on the hotel.
It wreaked havoc on us.
Bedbugs have put businesses on edge. This moving company in the Bronx takes every precaution to kill these critters, which could spread among customers.
Have you actually had potential clients ask you, so what are you going to do about bedbugs?
Yes, it's a very big deal.
So in between moves, the crews heat the inside of the trucks to 120 degrees, spray down the dollies, and certify their vehicles have been checked by bedbug-sniffing dogs.
Well, I'm not going to take a chance.
The problem, the bugs have become resistant to many pesticides. They can live for a year and up to 6 months without food. That is your blood. Females can lay hundreds of eggs over the course of their lives. In the war on bedbugs, man is outnumbered.
It's going to get to warehouses, it's going to get to other trucks, it's going to continue in other industries as well. It's just going to happen, it's going to logic.
You're scaring me.
In the age of bedbugs, businesses are afraid customers will bite back. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
Ugh. And still ahead, what a journey from the mine to the marathon. A lot of excitement today at NASA. One of its spacecraft flew within 435 miles of a comet and took some spectacular pictures. The Hartley 2 comet looks like a peanut spewing jets of icy debris as it shoots through space 13 million miles from Earth. The marathon is a test of endurance, something Edison Pena knows all about. He survived 70 days trapped in that Chilean mine, and today he arrived here in New York City to run this weekend's marathon. Pena also taped an appearance for tonight's Late Show, telling David Letterman he ran as much as 7 miles a day in the mine. He's also a huge Elvis Presley fan and couldn't resist singing one of his favorites.
Thank you so much.
He's got the hip action down, too. Pena has also accepted an invitation to visit Elvis's home, Graceland, in January. By the way, that's his translator. And coming up next, a one-man stimulus plan, putting people to work. 457,000 more Americans joined the line for unemployment benefits last week. And while the folks in Washington try to figure out how to put people back to work, a businessman we met in Philadelphia has found a formula, mixing equal parts American currency and American spirit. Leo de Oliveira is back on the job after nearly 5 long years on unemployment.
It was rough. We've had some really serious problems, and 3 years ago we lost our house.
But the 43-year-old father of 4 can't thank a headhunter or some local politician for getting him hired. He can thank a 71-year-old philanthropist from Philadelphia whom he didn't even know.
I've been through recessions over my lifetime, and I've never seen anything like this.
That's why Gene Epstein has pledged to donate $1,000 to charity for the first 250 small businesses that agree to hire just 1 employee.
If 1 out of 10 small businesses hire just 1 new employee, we will bring in 570,000 new employees to payrolls.
His crusade started with a full-page ad in the Bucks County Courier-Times.
It's driving around the city.
Now the Hire Just One campaign is on the move, with almost 200 businesses already on board.
Last night I got an email from somebody in Ohio, and he said, I was so enthused about your program that I just want to tell you we're just putting someone on today.
Really? Epstein has always been industrious, even before he made his fortune as a car dealer and real estate investor. His dad died when he was 11, and by 15 he had opened a candy store with his mom to save their North Philadelphia home.
I started at 6 in the morning. I went off to school at 8. I'd come back at 3:30 and worked until 10 at night. And less than 18 months later, paid the mortgage off on the house and had my mom quit her job.
You learned how to be a pretty shrewd businessman at an early age.
I've never found the downside risk of working hard.
But with the unemployment rate stuck at almost 10%, can Epstein convince enough businesses that the risk is worth the reward?
as much as a patriot as I am, if it's not a good business deal, it's not happening.
Phil Chant is one business owner who bought in. In fact, last month, Chant decided his machine manufacturing company in New Britain, Pennsylvania, could afford to hire not just one, but 5.
What Gene's program did for us was it got us talking. And we pulled the trigger and did it. And again and again.
Leo de Oliveira is grateful for one of those jobs.
I was shocked how one person could actually pull something like this together.
I'm so glad.
Why the heck are you doing this?
I know this program will work, and it just makes me feel so incredibly good that it was able to get people back to work.
And that's why Gene Epstein exemplifies the American spirit. If you know someone else who does, you can go to cbsnews.com and let us know. That's the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.